is a game called Anomia. Anomia is a really fun party game where you're basically frantically shouting words at your friends. It's very simple. What's going to happen is each player on their turn is going to take the top card of one of these decks. So you're basically going to put the deck, split it in half. Just do that so it's easier for people at either end of the table to reach it. You're going to take one of the cards, you're going to flip it, and you're going to put it face up in front of you. Next person is going to go, and they're going to do the same thing, and we're going to keep on going around. Each card has on it essentially a category, so battery brand in this case, and it has on it a symbol. What's going to happen is we're going to keep on flipping cards, and then at some point, two players, I swear it's going to happen, and then at some point, two players are going to end up having cards that have the same symbol as each other. That's called a match, and it's going to trigger a face-off. So we're going to have to resolve the face-off before we can go back to flipping cards. So this person's card says poet, this one says animated movie. Whoever has the card that says animated movie, they have to shout out an example of a poet before the player who played this card shouts out an example of an animated movie. So for example, let's say this player shouted out Maya Angelou before that player shouted out Little Mermaid. They would get this card, and this is going to be worth 1 point at the end of the game, and they put it in a face-down pile in front of them, and we continue drawing cards and putting them out in front of us. The key thing is you have to give an example of a word that is in the category of the other player's card, not your own, the other player's card. We're going to keep on going around, keep on doing this. People are getting points. The game goes along. Anytime you have a face-off, we're going to stop. But sometimes you might have a scenario like this happen, where you've got two players have a symbol that matches. They have a face-off. Let's say this player shouts out a popular diet first. They shout out Atkins diet. They get this player's card. They put it in their pile. And when they get that player's card, it actually reveals another match. So then we have another face-off. We have to resolve this one first. Maybe this player shouts out Peter Pan. They get this card. Now there are no matches out there. Now we keep on going. So you could sort of have this cascade effect where somebody gets somebody else's card, and then when you pull that card off, it triggers another face-off. This key is whenever you pull a card, you're just putting it on top of your pile of cards. So you're building a bigger and bigger pile, and therefore it becomes more plausible that you'd have a face-off as the game goes along. Sometimes you could also pull a wild card. Wild card means that now these two symbols are equal to each other. So at any point in the game, if one player has 4 red dots like this, and somebody else has purple squiggly lines like this is now considered a match. If this player had 4 red dots and this player had 4 red dots, that would also be a match. 2 purple squiggly lines would also be matches, but now one of each would also be considered a match. Whenever you draw a wild card, you're going to put it on top of the wild card in the middle. And what that's going to mean is that whatever wild card we had before is no longer in effect, and now this new wild card is in effect. There's one final scenario you got to worry about, which is what if two people say a word at the exact same time? That's a tie, in which case we have a face-off. Excuse me, what's going to happen if there's a face-off? If somebody who is not one of the two people who are tied is going to take a card from another deck, they're going to flip it over. Whoever says an example of whatever's on this card first wins the tiebreaker, and they get the other player's card. So each person would have to name an advice columnist. Whoever shouts out, Dear Abby, first would get the card. I guess her name's not Dear Abby. I don't know what her actual name is. Abby. That's how it works. You go around until both the decks are fully depleted. Whoever has the most cards is your winner. One other kind of house rule, but I think a really key thing to do, is whenever you're playing this game, or really any other game like this, where you're revealing cards and knowing what's on the card helps you, you want to kind of flip the card in a way that you're flipping it away from yourself. So if I flip the card like this, then I've had a chance to look at it before everyone else gets to see it. I have an unfair advantage. Whereas if I flip it like this, no one can accuse me of foul play, and I'm incentivized to flip it as fast as possible. So kind of flip the card away from you when you put it onto your pile. So the game works. Enjoy.